TV umpire to director, we have a review. Can you rock and roll it for me, please?
Welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll It, the podcast where we have long, detailed discussions on Indian cricket, some of which last up to 9 to 10 minutes, just so that we can get a 1.5 minute clip of Sid Monga making some declarative statement about a player that gets 500,000 views on Instagram. And
Which will be used when that player becomes a regular in the Indian team. It will be used against me.
close followers of this podcast will hopefully know what we're talking about. And speaking of Instagram virality, we have somebody who is no stranger to that either in Yash, who has recently been going viral from things as varied as reacting to Andre Russell's release from KKR to listing all the unflattering records India accrued after their 0-2 Test series loss to South Africa. So, welcome,
If
Yash.
Thank you. It is a mighty pleasure of mine to be on Rock and Roll It for the first time. But if Instagram virality is fetching spots on the show, then you have to get our editor in chief.
Was it his
Yeah,
idea to
you guys
do?
have.
Was it his idea to do that reel on whether Kohli will reach 100 hundreds? Because that has been the most viral clip in the last week.
No, I don't think it was his, but we have to use him
That,
now.
that was my idea, and I hope people get that that was partly parody. I mean, people are going after us saying, "Look at these cricket experts all believing Kohli will get 100 hundreds." Guys, we know that it's an improbable event. It was partly a joke. So please have
But
a sense of
the
humor. We
big
need that in
Own
Indian
it.
cricket.
Own
the
it,
biggest joke
Dustin.
you all played, the biggest joke you all played in that is talking about 45 ODIs very seriously, as if you've got the schedule and you know India is going to play 45 ODIs between now and
So
the World
I'm,
Cup.
I'm glad you bring that up. Now that we are here, I do want to raise this because there were lots of comments and some people even sending in questions. What is this count? Firstly, we didn't give an official count. We said India could play about 40 to 45. And Dustin, please allow me 30 seconds to break it down because we've been
Oh,
questioned a lot on this. There are what we know on the FTP. There are six more ODI series after this. That's 18 games till the end of 2026. In 2027, we are slated to have an Asia Cup, which will be played in the ODI format. So you add 6 to 7 games for that. That takes you close to 25. And in an ODI World Cup year, just going by trends of past ODI World Cups, India are always likely to play at least 3 to 4 bilaterals because remember, the World Cup only happens in October, November. That's what takes you closer to 35. And then when you add the World Cup games, where India will play at least nine, you reach close to 45. I'm done.
Okay. So I am going to remember to bring Yash on the episode of Rock and Roll It when we discuss Kohli's 100th international 100. Just putting that out there. But anyway, let's move on to the topic for today. We'll get to, I mean, a lot of Kohli in this podcast because we're going to be discussing India's 2-1 win over South Africa in the ODI series. What was in the end quite a fascinating series, tied at 1-1. We had two fairly close games, high scoring encounters before India won at a canter in the third game. I'll start with you, Sid. You were covering the series, doing the live report. What did you find interesting about the series? There was quite a few interesting elements to it, right?
yeah, and which is why I started with Kohli because Kohli was the most interesting element, and even at after having achieved everything, more centuries than anyone else, just adding on to it, he's found another level in his game. He's he has adjusted to the requirements of ODI cricket in India and he's hitting more sixes than he's ever hit. He hit 12 sixes in this series, which he has not even hit in a single World Cup where he ends up playing 10 to 12 games. He's hitting sixes against the new ball in the first 10 overs, which he almost never used to do. There were two shots in the first match, which he could have. I mean, even Kohli at his peak would have off-driven or cover-driven them for 4 years. He deliberately lifted them in the air. One was just a step off drive where he didn't even use his feet and he went over mid-off. Then there was another shot when he went over wide mid-off. Uh, he's never hit more than two sixes in the first 10 overs of an ODI batting first, which he did here. So like really remarkable that at this age, after having done everything, you can easily say, "Hey, my game is my game, and it's good enough to be here." But he's adding to it for India to stay competitive in the given conditions. Which brings me to the second most interesting point of the series. Why was he doing that? Because the toss is so crucial in India these days, especially now with the ball with the fielding side allowed to retain one of just one ball out of the two after the 34th over, which means you have one ball that gets played for 34 overs. So and in the baking sun of the afternoon, the pitch slows down. So in the second half of the first innings, scoring runs and accelerating is really difficult. So that again, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli in the first 20 overs scoring 160 runs, which India needed every bit of because South Africa, even after like losing 3 wickets in the first 4 overs, they still got close to 350, which showed how easy it gets in the night because you don't get that advantage when you reduce it to just one ball. You don't get that advantage in the night because there's dew, the pitch is quickened up, the outfield is quickened up. So the difference between the side batting first and side batting second has again enlarged during this
Wide.
series. Yeah, which India showed in the third match when they finally won the toss. 21st time, KL Rahul spinning it with the left hand. They showed that there's still a bit of difference between these two teams, although South Africa showed there is a lot of raw material to work with. They've used 37, 38 cricketers this year in ODIs. They're still not getting into that frame of mind where they've recognized this is our 20 for the World Cup and this is what we'll work with. But being in that situation, they have they have shown there's a lot to work with, especially in South African conditions where their seam bowling all-rounders will become even more potent. Janssen, Bosch, both of them will be like what Akshar Patel and Washington Sundar have been in India, which becomes yeah they become bona fide all-rounders in India. So that's what will happen with them in South Africa. So all in all, yeah, because of that, it became an interesting series. Yeah, South Africa still the result is a little misleading. They are not as good as a tight 2-1 against India in India, but they have a lot of attributes, a lot of raw material to work with, which can take them far. Virat Kohli again. Another thing about Virat Kohli, his genius was when everybody else was struggling in the first ODI in the middle overs when it really slowed down. He was taking singles without risk, he was so efficient. So when he needed to be explosive, he could be explosive. When he needed to be efficient, he was efficient. So yeah, and also Rohit Sharma in the third ODI, he played a couple of shots which told me, yes, if there were any doubts about him in to go to 2027 World Cup, they I mean, he should be right now in the picture. It should be more like in until he proves himself to be out, rather than out until he proves himself to be in. Those two shots. I mean, the ball was seaming around. It was sticking. He showed he could, just manipulate the bowling a little bit, manipulate the fields a little. Twice he left the crease and once the bowler pitched short, I think it was Bosch, and he smacked him for a pull for a six. And then he left the crease too early for Keshav Maharaj. He pulled the length down and he just nonchalantly chipped it over mid wicket, which like shows the range he has. Which we kind of when you see him batting with Yashasvi Jaiswal, who's just starting his ODI career, you could see the difference where he was either four or dot, but where Rohit was doing everything. So yeah, all in all, a lot of positives for India in this series.
Yeah, and on the Rohit point, I'll just add he also won a fielding award in the last game. So he's clearly,
Yeah, he
it's been a
he
while.
looks so trim. He looks so trim, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Something said love that can be the viral Instagram video from this episode. This Monga said he looks so trim. He loves to notice these things about Rohit. Um, let's talk a little bit more about Kohli before we go to some of the wider themes. Yash, I think this was also, I think the second ODI was one of the only times, or the second time that he started his run scoring account with a six. So that was another kind of new thing that he did. It was the 11th time that he got back to back hundreds, and frankly, he had an opportunity to get 300s in a row for just the second time in his career, and he probably would have had South Africa set a slightly stiffer target. So he probably has Kuldeep Yadav and Prasidh Krishna to blame for not being able to get his third consecutive 100. But it's strange, isn't it, Yash? And I'll just broaden the scope of this conversation a bit because that's what we do on Rock and Roll It. For a player who had such a dip in red ball form in the last 4 years or so of his career, or even longer, if you want to look at 100 statistics, etc. But in white ball cricket, there doesn't seem to be any dip. We've seen him even in the IPL show new sides of his game. So there clearly doesn't seem to be much kind of decline in the reflexes, in eyesight, or any of these natural factors. What do you think is keeping Kohli improving in white ball cricket, whereas in red ball cricket, his at least his results began to decline quite steadily?
Okay, so multiple layers to this. Firstly, I think ODI cricket was always the format where he was the absolute boss. I mean, at any phase in Kohli's career, even when he's gone through the worst phases, you will pick out 2020 to 2022, those 3 years, which were perhaps a little exaggerated in the coverage just because he didn't get to three figures. But while he was having his troubles in T20 cricket and Test cricket, even in that phase, I think Kohli had, and this is in the pandemic times, and you're not playing a lot of ODIs. I think he had a phase of 11 games with 5 or 6 scores of 50 plus. It's just that he didn't get to 100. But even in at what you can consider his worst period in high profile cricket, he was still doing the business in ODI cricket. So the first part of it, I think, is that ODI cricket has always been the format that always comes the easiest to him. When it comes to adapting, and I've been thinking through this series, and my mind really went back to his quote. I think it was after the Perth test, if I'm not mistaken, last year to the broadcaster, where in one of his interviews, he spoke about how when I have to play all three formats, I am very mindful of how much I experiment with my game, and there's only so much variance he allows in his game because he knows he needs to handle an IPL, T20 cricket, ODI cricket, and Test cricket. And we know that till the time he was playing Test cricket, he always prioritized Test cricket. So I'm actually wondering if, while there were all these questions about how now as a one format player will Kohli, how much time will he get, how fresh will he be, how ready will he be? I'm actually now inclined to think, are we now going to see a completely unshackled version? That a lot of those things which he perhaps refrained to do or kept himself from doing, not because he was not able to do it, but because he wanted to keep his game close enough or compact enough. I now feel that you're perhaps seeing the most unshackled version of Kohli possible, and I'd like to hear Sid's thoughts on this as well.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's a strong point that he perhaps did not. He wanted the base to be strong. He wanted the base to be used for all the formats, and perhaps this that has freed him up. Perhaps it's just the time that he has now to himself to reset, to rest, to recover. So perhaps this just being one format, and that format that he loves the most, that he's most adaptable to, he's the most naturally inclined to do well in, because even in Test cricket, mostly it was exaggerated seam movement for a longer period of time. If it was just a couple of overs or 4 overs like it's in ODIs, he can let it. He can ride that period through. It was just, and it was not unique to him. Like most batters have been struggling with that in Test cricket, as we see now. Newer batters are also struggling with it. But yeah, it is kind of it might have freed him up and might have made him upgrade his game again. He's like that reliable old iPhone, which which Steve Jobs is trying to phase out by pushing upgrades that don't work on it, and the new apps don't work on that old iPhone. But he's still managing to stay in touch, and he's still good to go, I think, for a couple of years if he wants to. And you know who Steve
Kohl,
Jobs is.
I was going to say Kohli's 100th coming before iPhone 20.
You guys, by the way, are killing the dreams of everyone hoping for a Kohli comeback to Test cricket by saying that he's now freeing himself up in white ball cricket because he's put Test cricket behind him. But let's be
Okay,
serious. That's okay. Yes,
how, how about scoring 100 hundreds and then retiring from ODIs and unretiring from tests?
Yeah, I think he's made a stance on Test cricket clear. He was asked in the presentation after the first game, and
Hmm.
good on him to dispel what was starting to become, fodder for lots of content
But
makers.
how did it start? I mean, nowadays you don't even know
How
where
does
rumors
anything
start.
start?
Okay, let's move on to some of the other big themes from this series, and one of them, of course, was India's seamers. Which sorry, Yash, you had something?
Yeah, I just wanted to. This goes back to an earlier point when we were talking about the impact of the ball change rule, and with there being one ball after the end of the 34th. And I think it's something which is very well illustrated if you look at the numbers of this series for the team batting first. And Sid's explained the troubles of it, where on a baking daytime pitch with one ball, it just becomes it's that much tougher to force the initiative in those death overs. And I've tried to look at the last 16 overs. Batting first, the scoring rate was 6.7. Chasing, the scoring rate was nearly 8.5. So it's a big gulf. That is 1.7 per over. That over 16 overs, you're talking a difference of 30 plus runs. So I think there's been a sizable difference, especially given the due with the change, with the change in rule.
But I
Yeah.
think the
All
change
of
has been made. The change, I think the change has been made keeping South Africa in mind. We were lucky enough to have Sean Pollock on air. He's part of the ICC Cricket Committee.
Yeah.
So I think India is not the focus. All the countries where due is a big problem are not the focus right now for ODI cricket. So maybe it's just kept. It's made
Yeah.
to this change has been made keeping South Africa in mind, where reverse swing can be really helpful, and it could be in both innings because there should not be that much due. Although it's the start of summer, October, November, we don't really know what's going to happen there.
And all of these factors made what India's seamers did in that first ODI really important because it actually wasn't. I mean, it was a big total by usual standards, but given the due, it might not have been. But India's seamers gave India that upper hand by taking those early wickets. And of course, they're doing this without Bumrah and Siraj, both of whom were rested for this series. So we got to look at a kind of new look Indian pace bowling attack with Arshdeep Singh actually leading it. Rana there, Prasidh Krishna there. So, Yash, I'll start with you. What kind of stood out to you, or how is India's? I mean, you can't even necessarily call this a support seam bowling attack now because I think all of these guys will be in the frame for the 2027 World Cup. So, how did you find India's fast bowling stocks lining up?
Yeah, so three of them that we saw, I'd like to begin with Arshdeep Singh, who for me is the bowling story of this series because these are three games where he's pretty much stamped his ODI credentials as both top and tail. Because in all three games, his power play bowling was quite impressive. It's been known that Arshdeep is someone who can make good use of the new ball. In that very brief window that India had the two times they were defending totals, with the ball doing a bit for the first 4 or 5 overs, he made the most of that in his and even when they had to bowl first in the third game, you look at all three games, Arshdeep has gone at fours in the power play. He's bowled 4 power play overs all three times. He's taken a wicket all three times. And his power play economy has been just under four, which is almost unthinkable in an ODI series where you're looking at 350 meeting 350 pretty much every game. And then, of course, his death overs chops are well known. Rachi, of course, will be remembered. But I thought even in Raipur, where the game was really behind India, the fact that it reached the last over had a lot to do with Arshdeep's overs at the death, where he just made himself very hard for the South African batters to score off. And I'm sure somewhere in the South African dressing room, there would have been memories of about 16 to 18 months back, because that was the one common factor from that chase in 2024. Arshdeep Singh was still here and he was still not giving runs at the death. And all told, in a series which has been this high scoring, he's gone at 5.5 runs per over. I think Keshav Maharaj was the only other bowler who went at less than six.
What did you notice about like his bowling plans? Was he going more for the in swing? Of course, he had lefties to bowl to at the top of the order, which may have helped him. And also, has he been able to get that outswinger going with a little bit more pace?
No, so he bowled a lot to left-handers, Decock, Rickleton with the new ball, and he was always taking it away from them. So he didn't, but as you're right, he has that ability to not just angle it away. He's when he's bowling to right-hand batters, sometimes when the ball is not shaping in, and he did shape it into Makram really well. But if it is not happening, he can like cant his seam towards the first slip, and then it can not just angle away, but swing away also. But he didn't really have to use that plan B here because it was at least it was doing a bit with the new ball, it's a very brief period. You get only 2 overs with each ball. You get hit for one boundary and it stops. It just goes into the outfield and it stops. So before that, he kind of concentrated more on his traditional movement, which is more dangerous for left arm quicks, which is to bring it into the right hander. That's what he did. But he was not alone. I mean, props to Harshit Rana also, and props to whoever has been, investing in him because he has all the ingredients. In it's slowly coming together. He has a very high ceiling if he can be like really fit and bowl long spells and learn all the tricks of the trade. He gets more seam movement than anybody else other than Bumrah in the Indian team because he is tall and he hits the pitch hard. And earlier we had this impression that he's an old ball bowler, but with the new ball, in those 2 overs, like he was really impactful in the first ODI and also in the third ODI where it was Arshdeep who took the wicket, but in those 8 overs, South Africa scored 25 runs for one wicket in 8 overs, and
Yeah.
out of that, eight were outside edges of Harshit Rana. One of them goes to hand, and even Quinton de Kock cannot score that 100. So, and he correctly had two slips placed for it because he was bowling for it. So he was kind of going around the wicket to the left-hand batter, shaping it away in the air, but because he gets seam movement, sometimes it would nip back in as it did in the first match and bowled Quinton de Kock top of middle stump. So he's also a very good ad, and I think India have the India should by now would have identified the four quicks they want to take to South Africa if they want only four, which is Bumrah, Siraj, Arshdeep, and Rana. I think
Yeah,
Krishna might miss out.
Yeah.
we'll get to Krishna, but Rana becomes a really important part of the squad because Gambhir has also come out and said that they could be looking at him as a number 8 batter. Now, of course, we'll have to see how combinations change once Hardik is back. But, with Hardik's injury record, you never know what might happen there. And this could be a combination India look at, where if they want a third seamer who can bat at number 8, of course, we didn't see much of Harshit batting in this series, but we got a glimpse of it in Australia. And it seems like there is a thought now in the Indian team management that he could even bat as high as number 8, which then could put him ahead of some of the other seamers just because he has that little bit of ability with the bat. So he actually becomes quite an important part of India's squad. And I think Sid's right. He's always had a very high ceiling. I've been very impressed with what he's been doing in the IPL. And now he's showing a little bit of that at international level. But Prasidh also didn't do his claims uh, like any injustice, did he, Yash? With especially that performance in the last ODI where he showed a little bit even of his fuller lengths, going with the Yorkers and getting wickets. So he's another one who will be in the fray at least now.
Yeah, he should be, and it's a slightly curious case. I mean, I think he was one of the players who, if at least you follow or are forced to follow something on social media, he was one of the players who was quite taken on. He seemed to be like a crowd favorite in terms of wanting to go after in this ODI series because he conceded 85 in the second game and then it didn't start well for him in the third. But so yes, his economy is on the higher side, but Prasidh Krishna, and I know it's a small sample, he's played 21 games so far. His wicket-taking ability in the middle overs is something that's definitely going to keep him in contention because I'm looking at his ODI numbers so far, and the third ODI was a good exhibit of it, where it was his over which pretty much started South Africa's slide, where he got that double strike of Breetzker and Markram just before the 30th. And Prasidh Krishna, 21 games in, has 37 wickets, a strike rate of 26.7. That is mighty impressive. I know it's a small sample, but even within those, if you look at the middle overs 11 to 40, he's got 20 wickets there. And his strike rate is less than 30. And I tried to look at all full members, all seam bowlers from full members in the middle overs since Prasid's debut, which was 2021. The only bowlers who strike better in this phase, curiously enough, there are three Indians out of four who are better than Prasidh Krishna. There's Mohammad Shami, there's Shardul Thakur, there's Hardik Pandya, and there's Gerald Coetzee. These are the only bowlers, seamers from full member teams taking more wickets in the middle overs in the last 4 years in ODIs. that we have seen in the last few World Cups, 2019 and 2023, that a lot of the teams who've done well have prioritized the ability to take wickets, not just through spinners, but also through seamers who can be enforcers in the middle overs. And that I think should keep Prasidh in the conversation till we reach South Africa.
Yeah, that's fair enough, and that this should be played out to those who have been asking for his axing after those two ODIs, bowling with the wet ball in the first and second. It should not be. That's not enough evidence to hang somebody by.
Yeah, it's almost in a way like curiously enough, his figures and the way his analysis read actually have taken me back to the late 90s. And it's not too dissimilar to the discourse that used to be. And those were obviously cleaner times in terms of discourse because this beast called social media didn't exist. But a lot of people used to have these similar grievances of Ajit Agarkar because a lot of times Ajit Agarkar would be the bowler who's bowling 2 for 50, 3 for 50. So you're looking at an economy which at that time felt like, oh, okay, he's conceding 5 per over, that's too much. But he was also taking 2 or 3 wickets, which was more than any seam bowler did for a long period of time in ODI cricket at the time. So there is a role, is what I'm saying.
If Prasidh Krishna had the batting ability of Ajit Agarkar, I think he'd be a shoo-in for the World Cup squad. But
100%.
yeah, it'll be up to Ajit perhaps to decide his fate. But all of India's seamers doing at least something to improve their stocks after the series. But of course, probably the bowler of the series. I mean, Arshdeep was one of them. But then of course, there's our favorite rock and roll it bowler, which is Kuldeep Yadav. And I wanted to ask you, I mean, obviously we saw a lot of the things Kuldeep did right, but also an interesting rule, right? Being bowled a lot later in the innings, obviously because of this new rule where you have one ball after the 34th. I think he took around 7 or 8 of his wickets after the 30th over in this series. So that was an interesting thing to see him actually being used later in the innings, right?
Yeah, but that's been the case for a while now because after 40 overs, you get one extra fielder outside. So teams have been tending to keep their spinners 2 or 3 overs, at least 2 or 3 overs in the last 10. So that plus uh, Kuldeep, I think since we have made it a favorite topic of ours, I think the Indian team management has been finding ways to play him in every match, which is very, very impressive that they have like really learned their lesson. Especially after that England tour, they are they're making sure he's there, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
And his quality showed when he finally got the dry ball in the final ODI. Even before that, with the wet ball, he was the leading wicket taker, but then he took four more when he got the dry ball, and it just shows that these kind of bowlers are also very important. Once sometimes if you get into the lower order, then they can run through the tail and like create a difference of. I think that day when he came on to ball, South Africa were looking at least 330, 340, if
Yeah.
not more, or at least hoping for 340, 350, and they eventually got 270 because Kuldeep kept striking, kept bowling those wicket-taking balls.
Yeah, in fact, in both of India's wins, because even in the first game, South Africa at what was it? I think they were 220, 223 for 5 or 227 for 5 after 33 overs. And 17 overs, 120 odd to get. Janssen was smashing it. Breedska was with him. It is that 34th over where Kuldeep comes and gets both Janssen and Breedska. Important to point out that some of these double strikes came also as a function of South Africa's batters perhaps trying to over-attack. I mean, Janssen got out to perhaps what is Kuldeep's worst ball of the year in the first ODI. But these things happen. You get your wickets sometimes like that. He did benefit from South Africa's batters, perhaps as a function of them being much newer and not used to these roles, being a little over eager to attack him, because that happened in the decider as well, where Brevis and Janssen both in the 39th over fell to shots that you could have thought maybe okay, see it out, and then you have the last 10 overs. But as a result, because Kuldeep gets that double strike, South Africa is 7 down even before the 40th over, and then 300 is off the table.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of positives for India to take from this series, considering they lost two tosses in a series where the toss was massive. But let's talk a little bit about their one loss as well. Now, in that game, obviously in Raipur, they lost the toss, so they were already at a disadvantage. But they did get to a really good position of 249 for 2 in 34 overs. And we'll come to Ruturaj's 100 and how the young Indian batters also stepped up. But from that point on, they only got, what was it, 109 in the last 16 overs, so just under 7 and over. Now, of course, we can put some of that down to there being just one ball. Also, the fact that both the century makers got out one after the other pretty quickly. But there is a little bit of a concern, I would say, in the batting of Washington Sundar and Ravindra Jadeja, maybe as finishers. I mean, they've obviously got massive quality as batters, but we saw even on a pitch where KL Rahul managed to strike at 160, Washington got 1 of 8, and then Jadeja went at less than run a ball. So, are they just two players who you feel you can't really fit maybe both into an ODI 11? They're a little bit too similar as batters. Is that a fair assessment?
First of all, I was surprised that Ravindra Jadeja came back in place of Akshar Patel, who did nothing wrong as a number five batter in spin-friendly conditions where you needed a spin disruptor. Secondly, Jadeja, for all the respect that we have for his natural abilities, he can be shut down by bowling spin or slow to him. We have seen in IPL also, he and Dhoni never take on spin. Third of all, the other point came in here because this was a series where India were now trying Harshit Rana at number eight. So perhaps he was averse to taking those risks because he didn't have much batting behind him. So all three things combined kind of made it difficult for Jadeja. Washington Sundar, I was really surprised that they dropped him for the third ODI. They have invested a lot in him. He's one of the few points, he's one of the few square feet of common ground that the coach and the selector have. uh, they both really keep Sundar in high regard, and they really expect a lot from him. I was surprised he was dropped because again, that's the thing. He's also a good batter, but a good test batter. He doesn't have the six sitting ability which is required. Either you bat him in the top order, and in the lower order he becomes a little bit of an issue because he cannot like hit sixes at will like Aksar can on a good day. So that is a bit of a challenge for India, both of these. And also, when you go to South Africa, one of them has to make way for Hardik. There's no other way. If Hardik is not available, then it becomes a big problem for India because we don't know where Nitish Kumar Reddy's game is. You have wasted a whole season where he could have played domestic cricket and worked on his fitness and his game, but you have just given him frequent flyer miles and done
Or
nothing.
yeah, or even played featured in this series because I mean, yes, I know that India like having their multiple spin options and they have more spin bowling all-rounders or spin bowling all-rounders of a greater and more proven pedigree than seam bowling options. But when will you get to try it? This, especially given the due factor, I found it a little odd that India was still so keen on having three spinners and having two spin bowling all-rounders. So I feel there was an opportunity lost in at least getting to see what Nitish Reddy can do in this role. But coming to your broader point, Dustin, I think, long story short, whichever way you slice it, you should not be constructing an ODI batting order such that it ends up having Washington Sundar and Ravindra Jadeja at numbers 6 and 7 or at numbers 5 and 7. One of them perhaps could play a role in an ideal India side which has KL Rahul and Hardik Pandya. And let's also give props to KL Rahul because he doesn't get the props as much. Both the times he needed to bat, he did the job as well as any number 5 or number 6 in that situation can do. And he almost carried India to those scores despite the lack of support. But maybe one out of Washi can play a role with a Indian finishing line that has Rahul and Pandya and which already has an Aksar. But as Sid correctly points out, at some point, perhaps it'll start after IPL 2026 when India get into their last leg of ODIs, the last 14, 15 months before the World Cup. They'll perhaps need to start fielding teams which are closer in shape to the teams you can field in South Africa because you can't field two spin bowling all rounders in South Africa. And these problems I feel will be lesser known when India have what, as again Sid points out, is their best combination, which is Aksar, KL, and Hardik. And then you take a call. If Harshad's batting's come along well enough, or if you're prioritizing four bowlers enough, then Harshad Rana becomes your number eight. But yeah, I'd, I'd like to think you don't see Washington and Jadeja as part of your finishing unit again in ODIs together.
Yeah, bringing
I guess,
Jadeja
yeah,
back was a bit of.
I
Sorry,
guess they
Sid,
were
you were
just
doing
trying.
6-7.
There's just the balance is very delicate in trying to win a series and trying to develop somebody. And you see the pressure that you have as an
Yeah,
Indian team. You cannot, which this is one of the disadvantages of being India, where other teams can get away.
yeah,
ODI bilateral series, T20I bilateral series, they can lose and try to experiment and build towards a team 12 months down the line. India just cannot. You just see the
yeah.
pressure they are under when they lose one match.
Yeah, that's a very fair point actually. Because imagine, Dustin, if India had played ready and if it didn't work out and they lost the series 2-1, you would have had someone going viral on the Cricinfo page with another stat about how this is the first time in 40 years that India have lost both the Test and ODI series of a tour at
At
home.
home.
So
We almost recorded that video in advance, by the way, but then we decided it's a little too cynical. Um, But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how India balance their all-rounders. My theory is that in Washington, he's actually a much better batter in conditions that you might get in South Africa and Australia than you get in India. He's actually, when it comes to his six hitting, which we saw a little bit in Australia, when there's pace on the ball, when bowlers are going short at him, then he actually can hit sixes. It's more on Indian pitches when you take the pace off that he's not as good as, say, an Aksar. But maybe they are thinking, given his age and given that the next World Cup will be in South Africa, they see him playing a role. But again, then what's surprising is that you don't give him much bowling and then you don't play him in the third ODI, which is not really giving him much of a chance to show all his skills. Jadeja coming back for Aksar, I thought was very surprising. Maybe they just went off Aksar's test form and felt as a bowler, he needs to work a little bit on that. Although when it came to his white ball bowling, he was actually, as Sid said, he wasn't doing really much wrong. So it was a bit of a difficult, bit of a surprising call. I do think that India will maybe look at Nitish as well as maybe even Shivam Dubey, who they seem to really like in T20 cricket as a bowler. Because, and it pains me to say this because obviously everyone hopes that Hardik will be fit, but I guess given his injury track record, you almost need to have a plan B in terms of what may be your all rounder combination should Hardik pick up more injuries. Even if he's fit for the 2027 World Cup, you might have ODIs to play in between where you might need to rest Hardik. So I think you'll probably see quite a few different all rounders being tried out. But yeah, that was probably the one negative for India this series that in that game where they needed a really big score, they probably needed 400 to really make the Raipur game competitive, or even another 20 runs they could have given what eventually happened. But they couldn't quite push that score beyond 360, which they have showed the ability to do in the last 3 or 4 years. But this middle order wasn't quite capable of doing it. Let's now go to some of the newer batters because we've talked a little bit about Kohli and Rohit. But it's amazing how any new young batters who seem to come into India's white ball setup almost immediately deliver. I mean, Gaikwad and Jaiswal know that they basically have three ODIs before which Gill and Shreyas Iyer will be back. And they both managed to get centuries. I thought Gaikwad's was an outstanding century. And yeah, just goes to show the kind of assembly line India have in white ball cricket, right? Where you can almost sub in any batter and they will come and deliver, especially in these conditions. Right, Sid?
Yeah, and Jaiswal especially was under a lot of pressure uh, because in the first two ODIs he was almost obligated to hit out because you need a really huge total to make up for the toss disadvantage. And the third ODI comes around and he's still trying to find his find his pace and find his tempo. And he knows that this is my last game and I'm going to lose this place to Gill. And because Gaikwad has scored 100, who knows? The team management and selectors might think of Gaikwad as the replacement batter who can bat both in the top order and in the middle order. So he kind of that spot was on the line. He did really well to get out of that phase. he was fortunate to be batting with Rohit Sharma, who kind of took him through the paces, who also took the pressure off by hitting a couple of sixes, and he also luckily had the time because they were chasing only 271. He had the time to absorb some of that period, and he showed that he has the game. It's just he's still a level below what you want them to be. Gaikwad, again, he in that innings he really kind of matched Kohli shot for shot, acumen for acumen. He was with him all the time. So there is, as you say, I mean, the batting talent in white ball cricket you don't have to worry about. I mean, even if, which is why there were questions in the first place. It's not like, Gautam Gambhir hates Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma and he wants India to lose. It's just that there is so much talent, and anybody who's leading the team will have those kind of doubts in their mind whether, I should be going with the younger, exciting talent or these guys whose whose game I don't know where it will be in 18 months' time, because at this age it can fall rapidly also. So that's because there is so much, as you said, Dustin, so much white ball talent coming seemingly ready, is why there were questions or any pressure on Virat and Rohit.
Yeah. I think just to add to that, Jaiswal, I think, would have had the biggest note of thank you to Kuldeep and Prasidh for their efforts because, like
Yeah,
it points out, the fact that the target was, eventually much below 300. If India are chasing 320, 330, he can't take that much time. And then
he was
if
20.
he
He
gets
was
out,
24 of 48 at one point. You can't do that.
correct. Correct. I mean, he got to his 50 of 75. He often scores test 50s that are faster than that. So he really got the chance to take his time and good on him because that's also an important part because a lot of times we tend to question the younger batters when you say, oh, do they have the ability to dig in or like just play unlike what they want to play like. So it was a good exhibit in the sense of restraint he showed against Janssen, who's a person whose sight must be making him sick after the length of this series. So props to him. And Gaikwad, I think it was almost so fitting or poetic that he's if IR is fit, Gaikwad doesn't make the squad. And he's played a knock that is of the IR vintage, the IR that we've seen in the 2023, in the lead up to the World Cup and during the World Cup, because in fact, it was almost blow by blow because he's initially troubled by a fast bowler throwing bouncers at him when Janssen at the start of Gaikwad's knock was troubling him. But then he just came into it, and the ease with which he was getting his runs against Maharaj. I think there was an over in the middle overs which really felt like he didn't even try to. It's not like he was trying to belt the ball, but India got 16 or 18 runs off that over. He's got those levers, and it's all that much more impressive because while this is a batter with uh, immense credentials already in List A cricket. He had 17 List A hundreds in 87 games before that second ODI, but all of them had come as opener. This is not
Hmm.
someone who's used to batting in the middle over, so he deserves a lot of credit for being able to adapt to that role naturally. And yes, it bodes well for India. Like Sid points out, yeah, it's good that Kohli and Rohit, there's a reason why there were questions that there could be better options. It's great for India that Kohli and Rohit are batting the way they are. But just in case, you reach 2027 and someone has a breakdown, there's some fitness concern with one of those two, you can rest easy that, even the ones who are perhaps fifth, sixth, seventh in the pecking order in terms of middle order batting positions are people who can perform.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about Rohit because he's got 350 plus scores in his last four innings. His strike rate is 104, which of course is very high. But if you compare it to the Champions Trophy, where he was going at like
Slow.
125, 130, it's slower. No, but that may be a positive because what I think a lot of people are assessing based on that is that there's a little bit more faith in his fitness and ability to play the
Yeah.
long innings. He had kind of cast himself in this role of just I'll go crazy in the first 15 overs and get India off to a rapid start, but maybe not bed in for the long innings. But what he's shown, and of course he's doing it based on match situation. Two of these 50 plus scores have come in middling chases. So he's had every right to go at 110, which is in fact still very fast when you're chasing 270. But he seems to now be able to change gears between hitting sixes at times, but also being there, ready to play the long knock. So all of that really bodes well, right?
Yeah, and when the one time when India were batting first and needed a big total, he took India to 160 in 20 overs, which
Yeah.
was kind of the difference between the two sides. If India had batted like South Africa did, there might have been 120, which kind of and that innings he was going. He was not holding back. So he's just becoming more versatile than he had been in that little period, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the length of the innings is what is perhaps the biggest positive from a Rohit perspective and also from the India ODI side perspective. I'm looking at these knocks, Dustin, and there's four scores of 50 plus in these last two series. There were two in Australia and now two here. And he's batted, excuse me, the two knocks in Australia were 97 balls and 125 balls. And the one in the third ODI here was 73 balls. And I'm on his innings by innings list on Stats Guru, and you have to go a fair way up to look at such a short run where he's had innings that have lasted that long. Because even in his ODI World Cup, which was prolific, there was only, I think there was only the game against England where he batted 100 balls, which was in Lucknow. So the fact that he has batted this long in such a quick span really bodes well. Sit, sorry.
Which is again, Lucknow was where it was seaming around, and he recognized that
Yeah.
you can't do what he's been doing, and his game is there right now. I mean, as of now, as of 8th December, Monday, just around noon, I think he should be a lock for the 27 World Cup, but you never know.
Yeah.
I'll just end now with talking a little bit about some of the post series comments from the coach, Gautam Gambhir. Because, I mean, a lot of them were quite kind of pointed, quite fiery. He seems to be under a little bit of pressure. He was seemingly using this victory in a bilateral series to, you know, go on the front foot against people who've been kind of on the front foot against him, if we can put it that way. Do you think that? But I'll try to spin a positive light on this. Do you think that maybe he's building a bit of siege mentality, and that can actually help India, where they feel like they're being unfairly criticized? Yash is already shaking his head, but my theory is that sometimes a little bit of siege mentality helps, where you feel like, okay, the whole world is against you, but we'll prove that we are good enough, and it's okay if our test results haven't been there, but in white ball cricket, we're still the best side in the world. Or do you think that it's not a great look that he's taking on
Yeah.
this aggressive and all? Yeah.
Everyone doesn't need to be Jose Mourinho. That's all I'll say. It's not, the world isn't against you. And I also and I think this is might be a little non-cricketing, but I feel this notion whenever it's passed, be it by commentators or broadcasters or cricketers or coaches, I feel it is worrying for the game. When anyone in the game says that if this is not your domain, don't speak on it. What does that mean? What does that mean for everyone who works in cricket, for everyone who talks on cricket? And why does cricket need to go into that space? So,
I just I want to ignore all press conferences. All I want to say is serenity now, serenity now.
I'm with Monga.
I hope I don't become like Frank Costanza and just go serenity now by the end of it. But it's serenity now.
These answers, Dustin, are also the difference of a person sitting in Goa and a person sitting in Mumbai with the
Yeah.
pollution and the impending traffic that's going to come up.
Yeah.
You
On
Look
that
at
note,
the
yeah,
look at the
we'll
bright side. Look at the bright side. You can't speed in Bombay now. You can't mow down people with your car in Bombay. Even if you have an accident, it's a low impact accident.
okay. On that very strange note, we'll end this episode of Rock and Roll It. We always seem to finish up on these very, very odd notes. But yeah, some
Morbid
positivity in
notes.
Indian. Yeah. Some positivity in Indian cricket. They win the bilateral series. Quite a close, interesting series against, as Sid was saying, quite a promising South Africa side as well. And a lot of positives to take for India, from Kohli and Rohit to some of the younger batters to the seam bowling attack to Kuldeep Yadav. So a lot more positivity than after the Test series. We'll see how the T20I series goes, and we'll see you all very soon on another episode of Rock and Roll It.
TV umpire to director, we have a review. Can you rock and roll it for me, please?